February was filled with romance reads, as it should be, especially since it contains not only Valentine's Day, but also my anniversary. It just feels like the right genre. Hi, hello, welcome in. I'm Jerica, and I'm an editor, writer, and all-around content creator, and this is my February reading recap. We're going to get some final thoughts on Women in Love since I wasn't quite finished it by the end of January. I read another novella from Christmas Revels, and then I finally read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think that's all I have as an intro, so we're just going to get into it, except first, I always put on, not always, but I often put on fun socks, especially ones with, fun writing on the bottom, and then they never actually get seen in videos. There was one where I managed to shoehorn them in, so I'm going to shoehorn in these new ones. But look at these socks, they're cute. They came in a gift box that I got for Christmas, and this is the first time I'm actually wearing them. So anyways, there you go. So let's finish up talking about Women in Love. I don't think there's a whole lot more for me to say. It's definitely not my favorite book. I think I gave it a 3.5 when I finished it on Storygraph. And that's maybe a little generous. It might be just a 3-star read. It wasn't a bad book. It just didn't really do anything for me. I think part of the issue is that there were parts of it that I really enjoyed and then parts of it that I wish just didn't exist. It could have been shorter and kind of done the same thing or focused on one or two themes instead of hitting everything. And I do think that this is just a product of its time and wanting to kind of hit all of those things and reading being just a little, or writing being a little different in style, overall. I will say that by the end, I think the last line, honestly, was maybe my favorite part of the book. Now, of course, it wouldn't have had the impact it had it not followed the book, but I like the kind of finishing it off with the idea of love doesn't have to be a romantic love, and this is something that kind of comes out throughout without really coming out throughout. And the idea of having a partner is great, but having a best friend is also good. You shouldn't rely solely on one person. And I just think that's a good thing for everybody to kind of think about. And so I liked the ending of it. There are some parts of it that are just wild and out there, and I talked about one of them before in the January recap. I think the thing that really kind of almost ruins the book for me is just how dramatic the characters are. And I feel like that's a really weird thing to say. And it's not even so much unrealistic. I think there are people who are this dramatic in life, but it didn't, I don't know, it just didn't land for me because it didn't feel right. And it's kind of hard to explain. And I think there's one character that I think we're supposed to realize earlier, and when you look back you do kind of realize this, or maybe you're not supposed to realize earlier, but one of the characters is absolutely just a sociopath. And and they it's definitely hinted at throughout. Honestly, there are multiple in here that definitely have some sociopathic tendencies. But one of them's really obvious by the end. I guess part of it too is that the book was a lot more violent than I expected it to be. Maybe that's the extreme that is throwing me off the most, is how kind of violent and aggressive the characters are. Yeah. Again, it wasn't a bad book. I just I don't know that I'd even recommend it. Which leads me to want to maybe lower my star rating on Storygraph. I feel bad giving anything like below a 3. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to double check too what I actually gave it. Maybe I did just give it a 3, and that's like kind of okay. Which to me a 3 is kind of like it did what it set out to do, and there weren't any like major problems with the book. But also it wasn't necessarily entertaining to me, because that's kind of like the other side of it. There's all like the technical stuff, but even if the technical stuff is good, if it doesn't entertain me, I'm not going to rate it very highly, if that makes sense. I did take a break between novels to read a novella from Christmas Revels. You may remember that I read the Black Beast of Belt's Hair back in December, and I had basically said like it's good, but like it's not like it was entertaining. It was an interesting take on Beauty and the Beast, but it wasn't like the best story. And now that I've read a second story from this collection, I fear that it might be the best one in here. There are 3 more that I could read. I don't know if I will. So the one that I read was The Christmas Cuckoo, which is a case of mistaken identity. And I feel like it has potential to be a really interesting story, but I think to be a good story, it needs to be longer, because I think part of the issue is the timeline. It's very condensed for a love story. Like, the idea has a lot of potential. The writing wasn't great, and the condensed nature of it really took me out of it. It just didn't feel realistic at all that a person could go from like picking up the wrong person at the train station to getting engaged. Spoiler alert, getting engaged within days. I suppose it's historical fiction, and we may be led to believe that timelines were condensed like that, but that feels, excuse me, that it feels too condensed still. And the reactions from the people around didn't feel realistic. It basically was like too perfect, I suppose. Like everyone reacted very nicely to everything that's happening, and everything turned out perfectly fine. I think even if the story went almost exactly the same way, but it ended instead with like a promise of marriage, just to like a promise of continuing the relationship, and like the courting process, I think I would have liked it a lot more. It's too fast. It was just too fast. And I think if we could have drawn it out, even just timeline wise, like keep it a novella and just like draw it out, or uncondense the timeline and just don't follow all the way through to engagement, and just like leave it as the happily ever after of like continuing a courtship. So we'll see if I read any more from this. Probably not until winter again. I know it's still winter, but probably not until like fourth quarter, or maybe like first quarter next year. And I feel like I'll probably have things that I'd rather read by that time. We'll see though. We'll see. Yeah. I feel kind of bad because I was really excited about this. Like just because like I picked it up to like read at Christmas, and it's Christmas love stories and whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll try, if I do read another one, maybe I'll not do one of the historical fictions, and I'll do the one that is a more modern, oh my gosh, contemporary romance. Because there's one contemporary romance, and it's like her first contemporary romance. Although that does like kind of scare me that it'll be the worst of all the stories. Because it's already not what she's written, and I already have critique of what she has written in the genre that she seems to regularly write in. Anyways, let's move on. You are not going to get a lot of thoughts on this, because I will be doing the first of the Okay Fine, I'll Read series on it, but I will tell you a little bit about A Court of Thorns and Roses. Overall, I'd say I really enjoyed the book. This is kind of what I was talking about with Women in Love, where like the entertainment value of a book is part of the entertainment value of the book is part of the rating as well as the technical stuff. And I'd say this is more like entertainment value, like is good, and the writing is kind of not because the writing is bad, but because it reads very YA while being for an adult audience. I think one of my biggest complaints about the writing is the use of repetition. I understand the use of repetition. It didn't really work for me. I thought it was too much. I felt like it wasn't trusting the reader. But the entertainment value of it, the like kind of like easy like beach read like vibes, where like you can kind of just like blast through it, enjoy yourself. It's not really for the like it's not meant to be picked apart at a like line level. It is meant to be experienced at the narrative level, if that makes sense. And I did enjoy it. The other thing I want to mention, because this is something that I talked about when I talked about going into reading this, is that it's a romantasy, and it's been said to be a spicy book. I don't know if this is a me issue and what I would consider spicy. Iggy, I don't know if that's picking up, but he decided to thump for a bit there. This isn't really a complaint. It's more like something to be said about the way people have been talking about the book. Because I was kind of led to believe that it was going to be a bit more graphic than it was, a bit sexier than it was. And that's not to say that the intimate scenes weren't well written, didn't like evoke the feelings they were going for, because they definitely did. It just like didn't meet expectations, but like in the best way, because I think this is kind of the level of graphicness that I like. I was saying before that I haven't really read anything that contains a whole lot of sex in it, and so I wasn't really sure that I would like it. So I think this is kind of the level that I enjoy, but I'm confused simply because I was expecting something different, and now I wonder if that's like, if it was just kind of blown out of proportion, if I was misunderstanding, or if I really do have like a different perception of like what constitutes spice. This is obviously like open and not closed, which is maybe the only thing that like we're really considering when we talk about like the spice level of a book. But I'd consider this pretty mild. And I think that's kind of like an important piece of a review for it. When we get to the full review of this, it will happen. I know there's been kind of a lack of videos recently. If you've seen my Instagram posts, or if you get my newsletter, you'll know that February was rough, and I was sick and still am sick. I was sick for most of it. And I'm definitely still on the mend. So I was already thinking about kind of like dropping down to how many videos I was doing, and then life forced me to. So, anyways, the review will come. And I will talk a bit more about my thoughts both on the book and then on the romantasy genre in general, even though this is the only romantasy I've read, and I will read more. I do want to talk about the genre and kind of my perception of its existence, kind of. Hi, Iggy. So I think that's all I'm going to say on that. Actually, that's a lie. There's one more thing that I'll say is I did enjoy it enough that I think I want to try the next in the series. I don't know how soon that will be, but I did enjoy it. I just have a lot of books to read. As my socks say, so many books, so little time. And if you perchance follow me on Storygraph, you'll note that this was not finished in February. I did finish it on March 1st, though. It is currently March 3rd. So, I'm counting it as done in February, especially since I did finish it before we got here. So, you won't hear about that one, unlike Women in Love, which I hadn't finished in January. I did finish it a bit into February. The final kind of wrap up for this video is what I will be reading in March. I have already started Perfection, and I am about 50% of the way through already. It's a pretty small book. It's a pretty quick read. I'm not going to give you any thoughts on it yet, but I do have a lot of thoughts already. And after that will probably be Northanger Abbey, and then it'll kind of depend on where we are in the month, because after March is the next quarter, which means you'll be getting another quarter TBR. And I think I've mostly planned it. Just like with this quarter, there was always room for a wild card to be fit in. Perfection is a wild card, so it was not planned to be read, but I did a little tiny book haul and picked it up on recommendation of a friend of mine. Yeah. So look forward to that TBR. Look forward to hearing about Perfection and probably Northanger Abbey. Maybe something else, something random from my shelves, because I know that I won't have time to do the Time Traveler's Wife. And I don't want it to slide into my next quarter. Maybe we'll read another Christmas Revels, even though I said I wouldn't be reading anymore. Depending on the time, that might happen. Or a shorter book from my shelf. I think that's it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the books that I spoke about here. Be cognizant of spoilers, please, for everybody reading. And for me, don't spoil Perfection for me. That would be very rude. And then also what you read during February, what you plan on reading in March. Don't forget to follow on Instagram and sign up for the newsletter. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things that you're supposed to do. So, hope you guys had fun. I had a blast. Catch you next time. Bye. Hello. You're very cute. It's definitely not time for lunch yet. Yeah, it's definitely not. Oh, thank you. Because, oh, there's like a giant hairball. That's disgusting. What's that? I got ink on this somehow. When did that happen? I bet you it happened in my purse. I ended up not even being able to read when I took it out to go to the doctor. Anyways.